Hello, and welcome to the Par 3 brought to you by the Lines, lines.com. Matt Brown, Stephen Andress, and this is the Travelers Edition coming off of a very exciting U.S. Open in which we saw Bryson DeChambeau. I'm not going to say get it handed to him, but we will say that it was something happened there, Stephen, in order for him to be able to capture his second U.S. Open. He played phenomenally, taking nothing away from him. Of course, we're all going to be talking about what happened to Rory. He did pull out of this event, actually said he's going to take a few weeks off before we head over to the Open Championship. And Stephen, you know, it's a deal when we're talking about, and this is a betting show, so we can tie this back around to betting. I don't think I'm going to fade Rory necessarily in all of this. Like, I think that he is as strong probably mentally as anyone else. And honestly, I think it's a strong thing to do mentally to understand that you need to take a few weeks off and you're not just going to go collect this free paycheck. Because by the way, this Travelers event is a no cut event. He would have made money no matter what in signing up and playing. And so I look at Rory and look, there's something to be said for playing well in a whole bunch of tournaments. I get it. You know, we don't have to bet him from a betting standpoint, right? That's the thing. We're bettors. We don't have to bet him outright every time. We can bet top 10s on the guy. We can bet top 5s on the guy. We can bet him in head-to-heads. He continues to show up week after week after week. He just can't get it done in the outright market. And you know what? As bettors, we don't have to bet him that way.
And if the books want to keep making him single-digit odds to win these majors, I am happy to take the discount on the other golfers somewhere underneath of him, because even after that, the closest he's come in 10 years since the last time the PGA Championship was at Valhalla in my neck of the woods here in Louisville, you still have missed out on $0 in winnings if you didn't bet Rory McIlroy once in any major over the past 10 years. So is he going to win one at some point again before the end of his career? Yeah, I would bet that, but that's not how it works. There isn't a bet out there at a sports book where I can just bet on Rory to win another major by the time he turns 50 years old. I have to decide each and every major whether I want to bet him, and I think I'm going to win or not lose more times than I will then he wins one. I've said that very poorly, but you get the idea. Fading Rory in majors has been fine to this point, and I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah, it's a deal where I just look at it and say, okay, I mean, look, if people want to start fading him, Stephen, off of him missing a 3-footer that he had made 496 times in a row, we start getting better prices on him and better prices in the top 10.
We can discuss, right? Give me a price.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, give me a top 10 at a better number. I'm fine with that too, right? And so I don't have to bet the guy to win. So we can look at it from other standpoints. This is a par 3. We are going to talk the Travelers here, and Stephen, we are looking at, as I said, a no cut event in this one. 70 players. It is at TPC River Highlands over in Connecticut. We know defending champion. It was awesome last year to watch Keegan Bradley win in his neck of the woods. The crowd was all behind him. He got super emotional. A guy that I'll go ahead and fully admit neither one of us are going to talk about here, but I don't hate him this week. I actually think that his game fits this course really, really well. This has nothing to do with narrative whatsoever. Modeled out pretty well for me when it comes to the stuff that I was looking for in all this. So I don't think you should fade Keegan just because, a guy can't win a tournament 2 times in a row. Well, yeah, they can. And it's happened before. And so let's not go there. We're not going to make either one of our cards. Let's see who is. You are on the box, my friend.
All right, I'm going to start near the top of the board. I'm going to go with Ludvig Åberg, who was in the mix for a lot of the U.S. Open last week. He had 2 triple bogeys over the weekend. And if he would have parred those 2 holes, he would have been right there at the top with Bryson and Rory. He triples them, takes his lumps in a U.S. Open, learns the hard way that you need to manage the course. And if you have a blow-up hole, it's going to take you out of contention. Even if he just bogeys those 2 holes instead of triple bogeying them, he finishes in the top 5. So for 70 of 72 holes in the U.S. Open, Åberg was absolutely a contender after he was a contender at the Masters. And now we get to a course here where it's not necessarily a huge advantage for bombers. It's short enough where the plotters can get around here and make birdies. But we have seen in years past where the bombers can take it over trees or cut corners and put really short wedges in their hands and start filling up the stat sheet here and making a lot of birdies. And I think Åberg falls into that category because he's not only one of the longest hitters on tour, he's one of the most accurate, And it is all but one event this entire PGA Tour and major season where Oberg has gained strokes both off the tee and on approach. There's only been one event where he hasn't gained on approach. Impeccable ball striking numbers for such a young talent. And at 18-1, I'm pretty happy with that. Even after Rory was taken out of this tournament. I'll double check the number here, Matt, as we go on. But that was the first guy that stuck out to me was Ludwig Oberg, maybe just straightening out a couple of holes that cost him in the U.S. Open.
Yeah, so Ludwig also going to make my card. Just want to say, and the other thing about this, Stephen, is just that if there's a hole in his game, it's around the green. And that's why I actually wrote up, a couple of different spots that I actually didn't think he was going to win the U.S. Open this past week, where he was getting by on smoke and mirrors in those first two rounds because he was just putting the lights out, but he was not getting the ball close enough, and he was really actually struggling around the green. He's just making some huge, massive putts where he was gaining, 3 strokes per round on the field with the putter. Here's the thing, though. TPC River Highlands shouldn't test him with that as much as it does. I mean, you look at a guy, lost at the U.S. Open, lost at the PGA, lost at the Masters, lost at the Blair, lost around the green. It's the one weakness in this guy's game. He'll get it fixed. Luber's going to win. He's going to win. Lovey's going to win a ton of tournaments.
Yeah, I had this debate and a friend disagreed with me. I said I'd take him to win at least 3 majors right now.
Oh, he's gonna win a ton of tournaments. Look, the only flaw in his game is around the green. You can work on that. He gains off the tee, on approach, putting, everything. Tee to green. He gains every single tournament in every single one of those. He just loses around the green. So when he does miss greens, the problem is he bogeys, right? I mean, that's the problem. He's not a very good scrambler. He's not a very good guy around the greens, and so that can be fixed. What can't be fixed for a lot of these guys is accuracy off the tee and never being able to really hit it close on approach and all stuff. And he's got all of that already. Love Ludwig. I think I understand what you said about the length doesn't necessarily translate on this course. But the thing is you can just look at his success across the board, right? I mean, A lot of these courses, he was second at Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach isn't long. You look at some of these other courses where he's had success. They're not necessarily long courses, and so I think his game just translates to everything because he's just good everywhere. So like him a ton. I will also have him, but I won't use him here because we're going to give you unique picks. And so my first one is going to be Tom Kim. And I always look whenever we get to courses where length doesn't really matter, I always look towards Tom Kim. And the reason being is Tom Kim is accurate off the tee. He's just not long. And the courses where it really does help you to be longer, I just don't know if the firepower, and look, he's only 21. Stephen, I think he can probably learn to get longer. We've seen guys on the tour figure out how to get more club head speed and get longer and all the stuff like that. I'm sure Tom Kim will. By the time he's 25, he might be averaging, inside the top 20% on tour or whatever, but that's just not the case right now. That said, phenomenal on approach. Gained 4.8 on approach at the U.S. Open last week, Stephen. The irons are getting there. If we look back to the RBC, gained 4.3 on approach at the RBC. The thing we loved about him is his approach game and that iron play. It's back. It seems like it's back. Gained 5 straight tournaments ball striking with him as well. Gained 5 straight tournaments tee to green. And even off the tee, despite the fact that he's not very long, he only lost 0.1 strokes off the tee at the U.S. Open this past week after gaining 4 straight tournaments in a row. So I want to catch Tom Kim on the upswing here. I want to catch him on the rise. I don't want to wait for him to win another tournament, Stephen, and then the prices get absolutely slashed in half because people go, oh, yeah, this kid's a phenom. He's really, really good. He's only 21 years old. I'm going to take him here on a course that I think fits his game absolutely perfectly.
Just filtered for courses that are less than 7,200 yards, and all of a sudden Tom Kim is top 5 in my rankings for this week. So it fits. It makes sense. It's the right type of course to go after him. In that span over the last 24 rounds on shorter courses, he is great with his wedge play. He's number 1 from 100 to 125. He's number 7 from 125 to 150. So the irons are definitely going to be there. He should be one of the top 5 players in the field here with his wedge game. So I like that a lot. Another ball striker I'm going after this week is Corey Connors. And listen, not a lot of win equity. He's only ever won the Valero Texas Open, but there's an adjustment, there's an upswing, there's positive momentum in his short game over the past 3 events that he's played that I have not seen before from Corey Connors. So this is the first time in his career where he's gained 1+ strokes around the green in 3 consecutive measured events. This is only the second time in Corey Connors' career where he's gained 3+ strokes putting in 2 of his past 3 events. If we combine that with stellar ball striking, which is right up there with the best on tour, at a course where you need to hit a lot of approach shots within range for birdie putts, I think Corey Connors now with this newfound short game puts him right in the mix to contend at this event. And listen, it was 50-1 beginning of the week. Rory pulls out. Now we're looking at 35-1. I would have never considered him at an event where the winning score has been, 20, 22 under par. But I got to tell you, this putting has really intrigued me now with Corey Connors to maybe try and ride this momentum.
No, I'm with you there. Again, another guy like Tom Kim that I always look at whenever we get to a course that doesn't necessarily reward distance all that much, right? Where we're just looking for guys to keep it in the fairway. We're looking for guys who are solid on approach. Tell me any reason that I would not want to play a guy like Corey Connors, right? I mean, like that's just what we love about Corey Connors. So I'm with you there on that one. My next guy, anybody that's been listening to our golf content over the last few years knows a guy that I played a ton of, a guy that I've been off of for the last month. And I think it's about time for us to get back on before things get a little bit too short yet again. It's going to be Sam Burns. There's maybe no streakier golfer, Stephen, outside of maybe Tommy Fleetwood and all the PGA than Sam Burns. But if you want to talk about a dude that can go and score in bunches, Sam Burns is a birdie maker up there with the likes of Scotty Scheffler on this tour. Now, he messes up way more than his best friend does, which is why he doesn't win as much as Scotty Scheffler does. But if you want to talk about guys who can just go purely score, Sam Burns can just go score. And guess what, Stephen? Over the last month, he started to kind of figure some stuff out here. T10 at the RBC, T15 at the Memorial. You probably didn't even know this, guys, because they didn't show him one time on the whole damn weekend. He T9'd at the U.S. Open this past week. You didn't even realize it because they didn't show him ever. But yes, Sam Burns was one of 11 players to finish at even or better in the entire tournament. Sam Burns, if it wasn't for the opening round 73, had a couple of 67s in there as well. Like, there's just a lot to like about where the game is headed right now for Sam Burns. And so for me, Stephen, it's the deal of we're always trying to be ahead before something catches up with a guy. I'm looking at the trends. I'm looking at a guy that looks like he figured something out. He had a horrible stretch from, what is that, about mid-March until about mid-April. Like, he lost something. Then something was not right. Seems like he got into the lab. Seems like he got it figured out. Seems like he's on the upswing here. And if we're talking about a tournament where you need to go score, like I said, he is one of the elite scorers out there in all of professional golf. So give me some Sam Burns before the number gets caught up to where his game is trending right now.
First top 10 in a major in his career. He played consistent majors since 2021. In that span, his best finish was a T20 at the PGA Championship in 2022. So can't argue that, especially a guy who my concern has been when he gets to courses with difficult scoring conditions. That had always been an issue for him. And he certainly proved that he can at least finish highly at the U.S. Open. He kind of put that to bed. And now we're at a much easier scoring location. Yeah,
and like we said, he's super streaky, and so like it's kind of like you got to ride the upswings, right, with Sam Burns. So if we look at the beginning of the season, Stephen, T6, outright 10th, T3, T10 to start the season. Then he lost it, like something happened, and then it was T30, T45, back-to-back missed cuts, T44, and then he figured something out again, right? And then it comes back to the T13, the T10s, the T15, the T9. Like it's one of those deals with him. it's not great. It's not great for us, but it's great for us from a betting standpoint because, hey, you got to catch him on the upswing, and take advantage of it. So let's not let the betting market catch up on Sam Burns before we can cash in.
Yeah, I bet him at the RBC Canadian. Felt like if he made a few more putts at one of his typical Burns weeks, he maybe wins that. I didn't add him to the card this week because I am at least still a little bit concerned that he's lost strokes on approach each of the past 2 weeks. But Matt, you and I both know that if he wins this will be about the third time that I looked at him and didn't put him on, and you did, and he cashed. So it'll be par for the course on you and I figuring out when to bet Sam Burns if that happens. So we'll see what happens there. The last guy for me, I'm going total bomb here. And it's Pavone from France.
Okay.
And I love the narrative that John Hasselbauer painted in his Golf DFS picks post this week. This guy's going to be on the French Olympic team. The Olympics are in Paris. He's trending up to try and go win the gold medal in his home country. Did absolutely nothing like Sam Burns over the past few weeks, and then shows up to the U.S. Open and has a top 5 finish, because that's about all you can really lean on for this week at the Travelers. Before that, he was garbage. It's back-to-back missed cuts, 67th at the Wells Fargo, 49th at the RBC Heritage, before 12th at the Masters. So it is a bit of narrative streak here, but also I only have to pay 110-1 to add him to the card off of a top 5 at the U.S. Open. Maybe he is trying harder now to just get right and get ready for his hometown Olympics. But it wasn't just putting. Listen, you had to putt well to contend at a U.S. Open. He did. He gained 7 strokes putting, but he also gained 3.9 on approach on a course with greens that are very difficult to hit at Pinehurst number 2. So we're going bomb here. It's highly unlikely, but I just felt off of that U.S. Open for him to be triple digits was, I'm not saying he should be like 30-1 this week, but I thought triple digits was pretty generous.
So I was going to go a bomb as my final pick, but I can't do it. I want to go in and I want to say, I have to talk about this guy that is just, look, Hideki right now, to me, I was going to go bomb here. I'll talk about someone a little bit after this, but here's the deal with Hideki, Stephen. If Hideki makes some putts this week, Hideki's going to be in the top 5. And if he's not in the top, he might win the damn thing, right? It's like the thing about Hideki is always whether the putter works or not. But you put him on courses where it's not like he's short by any stretch of the imagination, but if you put him on courses full on where it is a second shot course where you are full on, it is about who can put it closest to the pin and with those irons. We know that is what Hideki brings to the table in spades, right? And this is a dude for me that if we look and say, you know what? Hideki even putted even to the field for the week. He's going to be inside the top 5, and he might even be winning this damn thing when it's all said and done. I'm not saying it's necessarily an outright bet on Hideki. Maybe it's some head-to-heads. You want to go and attack him against some guys that aren't as good at ball striking as him. Maybe you want to go in some 3 balls. Maybe you want to do a placement market bet on him. I will probably sprinkle a little bit of all of that in there with Hideki this week, but just another guy that when you look at these type of courses and it's like, who's going to put it closest? If he can put it close, we don't have to worry about the putter as much, right, Steven? If he's not having to make consistent 18 footers to keep pace with people, if he's putting it 8 feet away, which we know he can do, then Hideki, I think, is going to be right there at the end when it's all said and done. Flat stick's going to have to show up, but hey, look, what you're getting into with Hideki, right? I mean, you know what you're getting into with him. You understand if you run if you get a hot putter week, you're likely going to be right in contention, be able to make some money off of his ticket. If you run a cold putter week, then it just kind of is what it is. But that's why he's a good outright bet.
Yeah, listen, I have room left on my card to add one more guy like Hideki or a Colin Morikawa at the top of the board, or I can sprinkle a couple guys down the board here. He doesn't model well for me this week, but Brian Harmon has a ton of course history here, a ton of top 10s if you look at how he's done at the Travelers. Tony Finau's ball striking is impeccable, but do I want to play him at a course where the winning score is 20 or 22 under par with how bad his putting has been? I think his bad putting got bailed out on a very difficult course at the U.S. Open where par was good most of the time. Maybe it is Hideki for me over Morikawa as the last guy on my card. That's what I'm debating right now. The full final card I'll post in the lines.com Discord. It's free. You can find the icon on the top right-hand corner of our homepage. And Cantlay was the other guy I'm considering here too. A ton of course history like Harmon. Didn't model well out for me overall because, of course, the form hasn't been good. Is one good event at the U.S. Open enough for me to hop back on? If I do filter for short courses, Matt, he goes right to the top of the list, right behind Scotty Scheffler. So, but that's not recent form. That's just short courses. So these are the things I'm still thinking about to try and round out my card.
3 other guys I want y'all to consider, dig in deeper. I can't say for sure they're going to make the card for me, but they're at least dudes I'm going to put in more research on and may make the card in some way, shape, or form. All 3 modeled out very, very well for me. All 3 in various kind of price points along the way. Russell Henley modeled out very, very well for me this week in this type of course. Sepp Straka, again, anytime we're talking about accuracy over distance, Sepp Straka is always going to rocket to the top. The guy just hits fairways over and over and over and over again. That's just what he does. And so Sepp Straka, another guy I'm going to dig into a little bit deeper. Maybe I can find a head-to-head that I really like, or maybe a 3-ball. Maybe it'll just be a placement market type thing. And JT Poston, a guy that we played a lot early on in the season, Stephen, and then kind of went through a cold streak. But again, now you get him on a shorter course, these shorter type courses for him. Somebody that I like to kind of look at again a little bit deeper. Don't know for sure if he'll make the card, but it depends on what's out there and what's available from a pricing standpoint. But Poston, another guy that modeled well for me this week whenever I really put in kind of the short course deal, who can go out and take advantage of not having to be long off the tee.
Yeah, if you want a couple more sleepers, go check out John's article, the Golf DFS Picks article. It's on the homepage right now, thelines.com, or you can find it under the odds tab under golf. So, yeah, I think there's more so than a lot of weeks, Matt. I think we have a decent amount of options here that we need to wade through because it is a shorter course.
Just remember, guys, if you are playing placement market bets this week, your guys are guaranteed 4 rounds. So guys can come back and creep into a top 40 or creep into a top 30 and whatnot, where normally wouldn't even be an option, right? Because they would have been cut or they'd have been donezo. So just remember, everyone's guaranteed 4 rounds in this thing. And so there might be some dudes that there is a little bit of value towards the bottom of the board, even from a top 40 standpoint. If you think those are dudes that can go out, and all you need is really kind of one low round sometimes on the weekends to kind of climb that leaderboard and get back into the top 40. As Stephen mentioned, upper right-hand corner at thelines.com. That's where you get in the Discord, absolutely free. So go in and make sure you take advantage of that. And if you haven't already, you probably have, but if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Just hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel here. Everything we do is free. You might as well take advantage of it. It's not just us talking golf. It's everybody talking everything. So everyone talking everything. So come in and take advantage of that as well. We do appreciate all the support from you guys. For Stephen, I'm Matt. Good luck on all your Travelers bets.